So beginning our day, winter retreat crew is coming together. So this is a very special time, and it's unusual that you get a crew of lay people at Bayagiri where you get to connect with each other and have your own community within the community. And very special time for us. We're just looking forward to 3 months of practice, and it's a very ripe time, a very, very special time. Can be difficult depending on sometimes we can look forward to a meditation retreat, but then when we actually get into it, it can be quite difficult. Bodies aren't conditioned to it. We might experience pain in the knees, and that's normal. So I'll be doing yoga, my yoga for meditation that I haven't been doing for a while, and that can be very helpful. And just having at least the first week, these blocks of practice periods, holding it fairly lightly, because as I say, starting January 4th, then that'll be the first day of full schedule of group practice. But if people need to be trained on certain things or have to finish up personal tasks, you're still allowed to do that as well. But if there's nothing else going on, then to default to the schedule in the hall and join in with that. And it can be when we do more sitting and walking meditation than we normally do, then there's a period at the beginning of it, I call it entering the mandala, where it can be difficult. First few days of a retreat can be quite difficult, and that's okay, and just know to expect that. And we might have high hopes for our practice and plans that we're going to attain certain things or achieve certain things in our practice, and that's fine to have aspirations as well, but also just to be careful about setting ourselves up for disappointment, because that's the way the idealistic mind works, is we want to achieve something really, really high, and then it's the idealistic mind, it's like it puts the bar is so high that it's actually unachievable, and then we're just setting ourselves up for disappointment. So just knowing that can happen during a longer retreat, also knowing that what we're doing is actually just very ordinary. We don't have to actually give rise to these illusions of grandeur, and it's like, well, because we don't really know what insight is if we haven't had it yet. We don't really know what sotapanna, what arhatship is. We just have these ideas, these concepts. Maybe we read from the sutta translations, and we add our own biases and interpretations to those sutta translations, so we don't really know. So going into a longer retreat, saying, telling ourselves we want these things. Peace is desirable, ease is desirable, but in terms of what the suttas are talking about, in terms of the goals of practice, we don't really know what they are. We haven't experienced those, so we don't really know what that would be like. And it is good to study about it, but also just to come back to ourselves and study ourselves as well. Where are the biases operating? That's the agati, the bias which creates a perception of reality which isn't in line with the truth of the way things are. It's not yet yata bhuta jnana dasanam. It's not yet knowledge and vision of things as they are, but it's knowledge and vision of things kind of as they are, but also colored by my biases and perceptions. So it's not just seeing things in their raw state, but it's seeing things as perceived, and that's it. If anybody's read that classic book of Bhante Ñāṇananda, The Magic of the Mind, that's the phrase he picks up on, is it's like a papancha sanya sankara, which is the whole engine that drives samsara. So trying to look at that and get insight into that. We can't force ourselves or will ourselves to attain insights, but we can practice and we can curb the momentum of the deluded mind. And that's really a good way to practice. We can use the path to curb the momentum of the deluded mind, because we're experiencing the results of karma all the time, and also the choices we make and the choices we make in our practice are also conditioned by our past karma. And there's always the question: is it fate or free will? I get this question fairly often. I think Jyoti Manto asked me this question when he was a layman driving me back from Birkin retreat one time. And is it fate or free will in Buddhism? And I've thought about this, how to answer this question. And well, it doesn't really have to be one or the other. It's is it this or that? And it's kind of, with karma, it's a combination of the two. You know, if there's a cause we've put in place already, we will experience the result of that at some point. But the way we experience the result is going to be conditioned by our present awareness, and our present choices are going to be conditioned by our past karma. But then there is this mysterious freedom where we actually can decide to curb the momentum of things, to be more wholesome, more skillful, more in line with Dhamma. That's kind of fun to look at as well. And just, it's a bit mysterious, the whole free will side of that. So just setting the motivation. Now is the time we're cleaning up the monastery and getting ready to go inward a bit more. And now is the time to set motivations and not get too, I'll say not get too foolhardy with adhitanas, only because I did that when I was in Anagarika, and I ended up being very disappointed with myself because I couldn't keep my no allowables adhitanas, and I couldn't keep probably everybody here has more adhitana barami than I do, but anytime I made a really strong adhitana, I found eventually I wasn't able to keep it, and then I felt really bad about it. But just to get back to that ordinary, like the ordinary practice, just going inward, but not having to be super amazing, or we call it we don't have to be performing spiritual athletics, but just getting into the ordinary practice, and then from there things can start to settle a bit. And I tend to feel a little bit excited before retreats like this, and that's like a wholesome excitement. It's a very good thing to get excited about. We're excited about practice, excited about meditation, and then just not having to engage as much with the sense contact, not having to speak as much. The winter retreat is traditionally a silent retreat. It's noble silence, so we try to talk about Dhamma or chanting. We do chanting, but we don't talk so much about worldly things. Although in the kitchen and whatnot for the retreat crew, then you'll be needing to interact with each other a bit more, and then we also hold that in a very ordinary way, a very comfortable way, not super tight. We're not having to all walk around just completely closed off, but holding it in a way that's very beautiful. So those are just a few thoughts where my mind is thinking about the beginning of winter retreat. So reflect on that a little bit.